The Edo elections are still the subject of discourse nationally and globally, of course, by Nigerians in the diaspora. All eyes are on Edo State. The gubernatorial candidates have responded to that. The result of the election, some of them have referred to it as a sham, as a transaction. But we're looking at a report or a release by one of them shortly. Much later today as well, I'll be taking reactions of Nigerians to the several angles of the conversation regarding Edo State elections. Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Central. I am Olive Emodi.
And I am Asue Ighodalo. Yes, just like Olive has mentioned, the reactions to the Edo State governorship election are still pouring in. And of course, the PDP has said that Ondo State will not be a repeat of what happened in Edo State. They say that they would fight and ensure that they don't have a repeat of the same incidents in Edo State. But of course, you know, the PDP governorship candidate and of course the PDP team have also said that they are going to court to challenge the outcome of the elections, whereas the Labour Party candidate, Olumide Akpata, put out a very interesting press release yesterday. I think we should share some excerpts, from that release. Some of them are pretty interesting. He says here, let us be clear, what transpired on the 21st of September 2024 was not an election, but a transaction. It says it was enabled by those who chose to stay away, making it easier for the two dominant parties to afford a significant majority of the few votes on offer for those who came out and willingly sold their votes. It says, to those who sold their votes, we extend our understanding, not condemnation. There's a part of it that I think was also very, very interesting, where he says, I hold no sympathy for the PDP, who now cry foul after being outmaneuvered in this macabre Game of Thrones. You like the way I'm reading it?
You must definitely give it to him. I mean, his legal prowess and his oratory skills.
Oh yeah, beautiful. I like the oratory skills.
Article. Yes, you can't even fault that.
Absolutely.
The Labour Party, I think it was a bit of a shock for many people, the outing of the Labour Party, and I dare say that Olumide Akpata fought a very good fight. A very good fight because he was somebody who was not actively involved in politics. And typically in Nigeria, they always make people feel like you can't just come out of nowhere and aspire. And Olumide literally came out from having practiced law to then being a formidable force and a formidable face in the election. I mean, there were several other political aspirants, but when you talked about the elections, you could only talk about Olumide Akpata, Monday Okpewolo, Asue Ighodalo. Yeah. So those were the three leading candidates. So I do say that, yes, he did fight a good fight. I still want to quote something in response to the APC's candidates and the governor-elect of Edo State. He says, as for the APC and the governor-elect, their actions have undermined the democratic process, betrayed the trust of the very people they seek to lead, and eroded faith in our democratic institutions. This is a legacy that will overshadow their ill-gotten mandate. Their grab, snatch, and run playbook is akin to riding on the back of a tiger. It will ultimately be the source of their undoing. Yeah. So obviously, it's not this is an election where we say, oh, it was a good fight, we concede winning. It's none of that. And that's not far-fetched. Why that might be said is not far-fetched, because we saw a number of the allegations. This was the result of the elections was very highly contested. Yaga Africa has said that this is not an election that has passed the integrity test.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday.
Exactly. We saw that. We had Yaga Africa on the show as well yesterday to share with us some of their observations. This was prior to them officially revealing their final report from the election. Yeah. So it's a largely contested, the result is largely contested. The fairness, the equity of the elections is largely in debate. Yeah. And I think the concerns, it brings forth even broader concerns beyond the Edo elections. We also have Ondo elections coming up. We have Anambra elections coming up, and even the 2027 elections coming up. Yeah. Again, it comes back to the issue of when will Nigerians get to a point where election, yes, there will be a few disgruntled people, but that justice can be manifestly, not just done, but manifestly seen to be done by all. Yeah. When will we get there? I think that's a question that Nigerians need answered.
When will we have elections that we can, argue about who won, but, within ourselves still admit that it was free, it was fair and it was credible. And many people mentioned that the Edo State elections and Ondo State elections are kind of like a litmus test for 2027, and what to expect in 2027. And I think a lot of people's red flags must be up already to, say to INEC and to the federal government that if this is what you want to repeat in 2027, then it's not encouraging. And a lot of Nigerians, also, have little reasons to be a part of the 2027 elections if Edo State's elections is a litmus test, and of course, like you mentioned, Yaga Africa did put out their comprehensive report yesterday, and of course, they've said that, it failed, the integrity test, through their own means of analyzing elections. The voting process itself, seemed to be smooth. There was minimal violence, and voter intimidation. But, the collation of results is where they point out that, the issues happened. And of course, Olumide Akpata also quoted that. He said here, as attested to by Yaga Africa, a leading civil society organization and domestic observer group, our sacred electoral process was reduced to a commodities market, a bidding war for votes. This practice, no less damaging than outright ballot stuffing, has effectively disenfranchised the people of Edo State. And these are some strong points, that have been made. And I don't think it's a lot of people who would argue even, because right on election day and the day after the election, many of the people who were observers to the election, including our own reporters, said that yes, a lot of those votes were, bought and sold.
And speaking of, votes being bought and votes being sold, yes, we can attest to the fact that the economic realities are incredibly hard, and part of the concerns we had regarding this election is if Nigerians can say that this is the worst we have ever experienced in terms of people's buying ability or their buying capacity or their purchasing power as well, not being able to match with the economic realities, and vote buying has been in existence for a long time, for years and elections before now. What were the expectations in this election? And Olumide, does attest to that. I'm going to quote something that he says, some sort of a message to those who sold their votes, and then read the part that, a very interesting part regarding Labour Party's participation in all of this. He says, to those who sold their votes, we extend our understanding, not condemnation. We acknowledge the crushing economic hardships that many of you face daily, hardships that make the immediate relief of vote selling seem like a lifeline. Yet, this short-term gain comes at an immense long-term cost. He says, we implore you to reflect deeply on the consequences of your actions, to recognize that your vote is a legacy you bequeath to future generations. In the end, it became painfully clear that we did not have the people, as many, including some Labour Party faithfuls and agents, willingly sold their future for peanuts to the very political parties whose actions and policies have impoverished them. Yeah. And this then comes back to the conversation that we had yesterday when we had our correspondent share with us what exactly was going on and what was being reported. And a number of the conversations surrounding vote buying were that none of the parties were exempt, that all of them were involved in both vote buying and vote selling. And now with this statement, it would seem that he's in a way confirmed that even the Labour Party agents and faithfuls were involved in this. And again, it is still a shame. Yeah, but it's left for him, to understand and not condemn, but just like I said yesterday, I don't understand. I condemn. I personally, no matter how tiny my voice is, I'm not running for the election, I'm not a member of any political party, but as a Nigerian who wants a better Nigeria, I condemn. And I don't know that anybody still needs to be better informed in 2024 after the electoral cycles that we've been through in Nigeria since 1999 about how dangerous it is to sell your vote. I don't think anybody who voted on Saturday is just, 7 years old, who hasn't experienced Nigeria. And so if at those ages, I'm talking about young and, and old and rich and poor, and Labour Party agents or APC, party agents, PDP agents, everybody who decide to sell their votes or their loyalty to money, I completely condemn it. And we cannot, after doing that, still expect better governance. And I don't know that there's been any trajectory or any history where an election was bought by the highest bidder and those people delivered on the mandate that they promised. I think some of the excuse as well that we've had regarding that is that some people collect the money and decide to go ahead and vote for who they originally intended to vote. And that's not an excuse. It's saying that you still collect their money and go ahead to do what you are still in a way perpetrating bribery and corruption. And that It's not the Nigeria that we want for ourselves. The Edo election conversations continue. Ondo is around the corner. Anambra is still coming. And if we don't start to put our house in order, what are the expectations for 2027 elections? We'll talk more about this, and we have our guests joining us later. But let's share with you our top stories and then bring you breakfast headlines. PDP rejects Edo election result, vows to reclaim mandate. They've been speaking pre, during, and even post the elections. Kogi Assembly seeks EFCC chair's removal over threat to bellow. And away from that story, Ighodalo Akpata accused APC of vote buying and intimidation. And we also have the Nigerian Prize for Literature Competition 2024, a very important conversation that we'll be having on the show this morning. We'll review the newspaper front pages. We have guests joining us, and you as well when we open the phone lines. All these and more on Breakfast Central.
We begin breakfast headlines in West Africa, Nigeria, where the People's Democratic Party has officially rejected the Edo State governorship election results announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission. During a press conference in Abuja, the PDP acting National Chairman Umar Damagum called on concerned Nigerians to support the party's rejection of the election results. He asserted that the PDP candidate, Asue Ighodalo, was the rightful winner of the election. In the meantime, the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the police contingent for the just concluded Edo State governorship election, Frank Mba, has given a security appraisal of the exercise. Mba, who briefed journalists at the Edo State Police Command in Benin City, said a total of 6 persons were arrested and 4 weapons comprising arms, knives, and other weapons. While describing the election as peaceful across the 18 local government areas of the state, the DIG said 58 voter cards in possession of a third party were recovered alongside undisclosed amounts of cash. And President Bola Tinubu has presided over the 18th meeting of the Federal Executive Council at the Asue Chambers of the State House in Abuja. Monday's meeting, the first in 6 weeks, follows the president's various foreign engagements in Equatorial Guinea, China, and the United Kingdom over the past month. Present at the meeting were the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, and the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu. Now, away from Nigeria, at least 30 decomposing bodies were found in a boat drifting around 38 nautical miles off the coast of Senegal's capital, Dakar. The military said in a statement on Monday that the Navy was informed of the boat's presence on Sunday evening, and a patrol boat was immediately deployed to the area. It added that investigations would provide more precise information on the death toll and the boat's origin. Now also, a Zimbabwe court has denied bail to the jailed opposition leader, Jameson Timber, and 64 supporters for a third time since their widely condemned arrest 14 weeks ago. Critics have long accused Zimbabwe's ruling ZANU-PF party, in power since independence in 1980, of stifling both democracy and dissent. Timber, leader of the main opposition Citizens Coalition for Change, and the others were arrested at his home on June 16th, ahead of a Southern African summit in July. And South Africa's new government marked its 100th day in power on Sunday, and while the coalition has been credited with lifting market sentiments, it is arguably President Ramaphosa's earlier reforms that are driving the current optimism. Some analysts say the formation of South Africa's business-friendly coalition government has triggered a wave of investment announcements and positive sentiments not seen in years, spurring hope that Africa's biggest economy may finally be finding its footing after a lost decade and a half. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Let's head back now to Breakfast Central and get into our top stories. I am Asue Ighodalo.
Reactions have continued to trail the outcome of the governorship election held on Saturday in Edo State. News Central correspondent Austin Azu, who is monitoring the development in Benin City, brings us more details.
The Edo State governorship election conducted on Saturday, September 21st by the Independent National Electoral Commission and subsequent declaration of winner will not be forgotten in a hurry.
That Asue Ighodalo Monday of APC, having satisfied the requirement of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
Though some party agents have accused both the electoral umpire and security of being partial, stating their party's intention to challenge the election results collated and declared.
Our party, independently, Zenith Labour Party, will challenge the outcome of this election in the tribunal. We don't know of other parties what they will do, but we, as the Zenith Labour Party, will challenge it. Not because we want to be declared the winner, but we want to keep those in the helms of our affair on their toes, as I have mentioned before, just for the purpose of accountability and transparency. People, any evil done should be redressed and should not be left unattended to.
Looking at them, there's no celebration. It's only the APC leaders that are going to benefit from this fraud that are celebrating. So, INEC has done its worst, but we continue, we move on.
The governorship candidate of the PDP, Asue Ighodalo, in a broadcast, alleged that the poll was marred by voter intimidation, threats of violence, harassment, arrest, and financial inducements.
Of this challenge, we must not be discouraged. The illusory triumph of evil over good is only temporary. Our journey towards a prosperous Edo State does not end here.
On the other hand, the Labour Party governorship candidate Olumide Akpata, at a press conference in Benin, accused the PDP and APC of vote buying instead of engaging in free and fair election practices.
What transpired on the 21st of September was not an election, but a transaction. It was enabled by those who chose to stay away, making it easier for the two dominant parties to afford a significant majority of the few votes on offer.
In another development, some respondents in Benin have highlighted areas they want the incoming governor to focus on.
Most expectation, he should continue from where the previous government starts, policy-wise, infrastructural-wise, and project execution.
I expect him to be an open governor, an accessible governor. Secondly, I expect him to appoint the very best people, the most courageous people of this state.
I want to see a governor who will actually respect our traditional institution. That, for an Edo man, is key and is number one.
The issue of roads should be tackled. In Edo State here, I noticed that virtually all the roads, especially the federal roads, are in a very bad state.
If the primary purpose of government is to guarantee security and welfare for its people, it therefore means that the governor-elect of Edo State must prioritize the welfare and security of his people. In Benin, for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
Well, the PDP acting national chairman insists that the people of Edo State selected Asue Ighodalo as their next governor. The People's Democratic Party has officially rejected the Edo State governorship election results announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. PDP's acting national chairman Umar Damagum made the announcement during a press conference in Abuja. Damagum claimed that the PDP candidate, Asue Ighodalo, was the legitimate winner of the election, citing irregularities and manipulation by the All Progressives Congress and government-controlled agencies. He alleged that the election did not meet democratic standards.
The PDP chairman accused the APC of compromising the election with the help of security operatives and INEC officials. He also claimed that results from polling units showed Ighodalo won the election before figures were altered during the state collation exercise. The party has vowed to challenge the election results in court and is demanding a review of the election by INEC. We'll be joined this morning by the Director of Electoral for Eastern Southeast Local Government in the Asue and Kogi Campaign Council, Honorable Clem Aziegbemi. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
All right, I think we'll begin by getting your general overview of the elections. The results have of course been declared. Senator Monday Okpewolo has been declared, maybe not declared, but announced as the winner of the election and is now the governor-elect, it would seem. And we have Asue Ighodalo and Olumide Akpata following closely. But your general assessment of how the election turned out.
Okay, thank you again for having me. My general assessment of the election that held on the 21st of September with what I would categorize, I will describe as a transactional election, like Olumide Akpata said, not because I support his position, because that is the only adjective to describe that election. And again, it was a systemic failure of those charged to conduct an election in our country. They have again failed us. They have again lowered the bars. They have again reduced the gains that we've made in the last couple of years before they came into power, I mean the APC government. We know how elections were conducted previously before APC took over. We have a president who conducted an election and lost the election, and he picked up his phone and called the winner. We haven't seen that in the recent time because of the kind of shenanigans that we have experienced in election processes. APC government have weaponized poverty and used that as a weapon to put the people under a perpetual check of poverty, where they offer peanuts for them and they sell their rights. That was why I said, yes, it's a transactional election, but not because I support Akpata, who has made that assertion, because himself also was involved in it, deeply involved in it. We know what the kind of way he came into the process, because that election was an election that those have agreed that the Asian, where I come from, Esan, the Edo Central, should be the ones to fit candidate. But he went behind to take the ticket because he was never in the race. We never knew him as a politician. We never knew that he belongs to Labour Party until he came to run as an aspirant and eventually become a candidate. So I said with all sense of responsibility that our system keeps failing us as a people. And when are we going to get out of that systemic failure? That was what happened on Saturday. Elections where the security agencies aided and abetted this coup against democracy, this raid against democracy. It is sad because we're experiencing this total breakdown of the processes that should make democracy flourish and strive under a democratic system, under those who fought so hard, under those who condemned the high-handedness of the military era. What we are seeing in this democracy fostered by APC is worse than a military rule, is worse than a dictatorship, is worse than tyranny. You shut out the agents of political party. You move collation center from the designated collation centers to somewhere else that's against the electoral process.
Kindly hold on, Isaac. I mean, I know that you would want to express a little bit more about, how the elections were carried out. But before you go on, there's something that I want to quickly bring in. Olumide Akpata, in his press release, says, I have no sympathy for the PDP, who now cry foul after being outmaneuvered in this macabre game of thrones. They willingly participated in the bidding war with the APC, fully aware of the rules from the onset. Are you saying, from your earlier statements, that the PDP didn't participate in the vote buying, shenanigans that took place on Saturday?
Where I voted and where I observed in my polling unit, I didn't pay for vote. I didn't buy vote because I was one of the party's officials and one of the party's chieftain. I didn't give money for vote buying. And if you look at what Olumide said, for me, like I said, I don't want to dignify his position on this election because it's worse than the kind of words that he used to describe the election.
Why is he worse than it? You know, your complaints are that he didn't come in, I mean, from Edo Central. Is that the main issue you have with him?
That's enough for me not to dignify him.
Yeah, I mean, but his party chose him, so it's not left to you to decide whether you would dignify him. His party chose him.
And some of us who are politicians knew how the party chose him.
Okay, but again, that is his party, you know, and he was one of the contestants.
So
my question is, did the PDP engage in vote buying like Yaga Africa and many other observers have mentioned?
Like I said, it depends on where they observed and where they monitored and saw people buying vote. And you see, you know, these things can come up in a semantic ways that you cannot bet. Throw tantrum to whoever you want to throw tantrum at. I didn't buy vote. I'm one of the parties,
maybe you didn't, but did your party? Are you saying that you didn't buy, but it's possible that your party engaged in vote buying in other, you know, polling units where you weren't present?
That could be true, but I can't say for them. Maybe you need to get one of them who did buy, and then they will say what they did. But for me, I won my unit, I won my word, because people believe in us. We've been with them. They know what we can do. We have delivered so many projects to them, and they supported us and voted for us. And if you look at the three candidates, even if you are not a voter, you will know that one of them stand out among the three, and that was Asue Ighodalo. He was loved by the people. He was accepted by the people. So I wouldn't have believed that his party, faithful across the state, will buy vote.
Do you think
he was the only one who was talking to the people?
You just said that Asue was loved and accepted by the people of Edo State. Unfortunately, the results are now showing otherwise. Do you think that he was maybe rejected because of the issue that Obaseki had with the Oba of Benin? Because a number of people have said that in a way affected his outing because he allied himself with Obaseki.
That is not true. That is not the true reflection of the election. And I don't even know what the issue that Obaseki have with the Oba, because it's not in the public domain. The Oba hasn't come up to say to anybody that he's fighting the governor is fighting him. But you see, the way people carry out issues that just to cross sympathies and just to blackmail and label people, I'm not sure that in your report as journalists that you have ever read any news that shows that the Oba, in his word, said he has issues with the governor. So I can't say then that the people will use that vote against our candidate. Our candidate won the election free and square. What happened was that the system surcharged Edo people. The system denied Edo people what a representative government should be. And that was what happened to our candidate. And we didn't lose that election. INEC lost the election. INEC lost the trust of the people. The security agency lost the trust of the people. You can see the mood of the state as we speak. It is not a joyous mood. It is not a mood where it shows that a popular candidate won the election. So if you said maybe the governor had issues with the Oba that is known to us, I don't think that was a reflection of what happened.
So are you denying that there was an issue? Are you saying that?
I'm not aware.
Okay.
I'm not aware. I don't work at the palace, and I'm not a functionary of the government to know what the issues are. But from what I know, from what happened here on Saturday, it doesn't show that the people rejected our party because of any issue, any passive issues with the Oba. I'm not aware. The Oba we hold in the very high esteem, and every Edo man knows that the Oba is like a date to us. So we respect him, we adore him, and we reverence him. So I don't think any true Edo man. It could be policy issues, and policy issues are not supposed to be an issue that should disintegrate into bitterness and brigandage. I don't think anything of such happened. And that's why I'm saying that the people never rejected our party because of a seemingly and passive issues with the king and the governor. I'm not sure that happened. It was the system that failed us. We won the election, and the system denied us the victory.
All right. I mean, speak a little bit more about, the people, loving and supporting Asue Ighodalo. How do you put that side by side with the fact that he lost in Oredo local government area, which normally is reasonably a PDP stronghold. In fact, Edo South generally, is seen as a PDP stronghold. Maybe Edo North, might be APC because of Adams Oshiomhole. But, how did Asue Ighodalo lose Oredo local government area in particular, if you claim that the people of Edo State, across the state, really loved him?
They do, and I repeat again that the people of Edo State love Asue Ighodalo. If you see the mood in Edo State as we speak, when winners are announced, you could see the popular views of the people will be expressed by their demonstrations and celebration. But if you go to Edo State, that never happened. Rather, what you saw was a manifest of some pocket of leaders of the APC who were celebrating. But the average voters never did. So for me, like what you like the Oreado that you made mention of, those were the two local governments that were moved from their original center of collection of result and declaration and moved to the state INEC office. So you can best imagine what would have happened in between that. From the report we got from the field, from the polling center, shows that we won Oreado with over 80% of the vote cast. In Kogi, the same thing. But when they got to the local government coalition centers, the figures were changed. They drove our agents away and went into INEC office. That is where the manifestation happened. That was where the manipulations happened. That is where the denial started from. So we lost. We didn't lose or lost Oreado. In fact, we won Oreado. We won Oreado free and square. We delivered Oreado because that's a stronghold. Also in Edo South, Ikubaoka, Oreado, Ego. Those were where APC and the security agency denied the people their vote and the victory. They ought to have declared them winners.
All right. And I mean, you've just talked about discrepancy in numbers, which is something that the PDP has also been talking about, saying that, what was announced by the returning officer was not the same thing that was posted or that was written on Form ECA 8. But let's talk about what the next steps are for the People's Democratic Party. We know that you've talked about going to court and you've asked that the election results be reviewed. Let's talk about these two options, going to court and having the election results being reviewed. Do you have confidence in Nigeria's judiciary to be able to grant you, the justice that you're seeking from the courts? And do you believe that these results will be reviewed?
If anything would happen, you see, the system has so feed us that some of us do not even have hope. I think I read from Sam Amadi where he said, if any Nigerian is thinking of contesting the 2027 election, that Nigerian is not serious. That's how hopeless, that is how disenchanted, that is how disillusioned we are now as a people. We are so disenchanted that I don't believe in what the Nigerian system offered to us. That's how sad it is. In my 40 years plus, I've lost hope in the nation I grew up to call my nation, my country. I've lost hope in the system. If I have a police case with anybody today, I'll just take my rosary as a Catholic and pray and then tell God to take control and not go to seek redress in the police court, in the police station or the court system, because you would never get justice from there. They've all tokenized the system to themselves in power that whatever you do is to your tent, O Israel. So for me, my party have said, let's become. My party has said they are going to, that the INEC should review the result. That, is a Tess Bamula story. It won't happen. The INEC will not do that. They will not review the result. You go to court, who here know who is going to give you judgment? The judges? No, you won't get it. So for me, whatever will happen, let it happen. The worst has been done again to us as a people, and we do not have anywhere to cry to, other than to God Almighty. That is what the situation of an average Nigerian who is not in the corridors of power cry today.
Yeah, I mean, so what you're saying is that you don't have any faith in the court system, and you would, if it was up to you, you would advise your party to not even attempt going to court?
That is my personal view.
Okay. We'll see how things turn out. I think the PDP has already put out a statement Olumide Akpata has also put out a statement, condemning the election, and all of that. But I mean,
when you drag Olumide Akpata into this scenario, it makes it look as if there was an Olumide Akpata. Olumide Akpata lost his polling unit. That's to tell you how the Edos behave as a people. We have a consensus that the ASAN should produce the next governor. So Olumide coming in was just a distraction of the process and make the APC shenanigans look real, and is crying foul and say the PDP is crying foul. Olumide shouldn't be in the discourse at all.
Yeah, I mean,
please.
But he still was, and of course he still got 22,000 people, willing to vote for him. So
his local government alone produced over 50,000 votes, and he got 22. That's a total rejection of his person.
Well, I mean, some would argue that Olumide did maybe make history in the sense that he wasn't someone who was actively in politics. I mean, not on the national or the state level per se, but came from...
How do you become active in politics? He ran as an NBA president. And
so when we're talking, that's why I said on the national or the state level, NBA is a totally different body. And he did do a very good job with the NBA, according to a number of lawyers will attest to that. But let's wrap up the conversation here and see what the next few days or weeks have to show regarding this election. I mean, it's still an ongoing conversation. And INEC, your thoughts finally. I think my final question to you will be your final thoughts on INEC and the incoming elections in Ondo.
There's not going to be an election in Ondo if it's not going to be worse than what we have in Edo State. There's not going to be an election in Ondo. I just pity the people of Ondo that if I were in an Ondo voter, I won't even go out to vote. I will ask INEC, please declare the result you want to declare and the winner you want to declare. That's how bad the situation is. That's how worse the situation is. If an institution fails you, my dear, where will you go to? If an individual fails you, it's okay, an individual fails me, I can go to the institution to ask for redress. But this is an institution failing you. Consistently, they have kept failing us. Consistently, they've kept reducing the gains and the progress that we've made in our democratic journey. So for me, I don't think there is any hope for an average voter in Nigeria to have an INEC preparedness into election process and on the day of election to declaration. It's like a template they have. In an election day, they'll do it this way. A template is a system where things are done in a particular way. That is what INEC has reduced the Nigerian voters to. Go and vote, stay under the storm, stay under the rain, but at the end, we will announce a result that we want to announce, and that is what we will give to you. Yeah. If you don't like it, go to court. Which court are you going? The court that will never give you justice. That is how hopeless. But my anger is that these guys who are in the ends of affairs now suffer this injustice in the military era, and they cry foul. They raise their voice to the high heavens to say they want democracy. They are the same persons now who have reduced democratic credence, democratic processes to the barest minimum, to why some Nigerians are now asking, is the other government better than democracy? And if you ask me, my honest opinion, they are actually better than democracy that we currently practice in Nigeria.
I think, Bemi, just final question. You kind of sound more upset with Olumide Akpata than you are with, Adams Oshomole and, Philip Shaibu and other members of the APC, who won the election. I'm not sure why that is. And then also, what would you say to people who say that the PDP has no business complaining about losing the election if, according to all election observers, they also, were trying to buy the election and buy votes?
You've asked me that earlier, and I said I am not sure because I didn't buy votes. So there's this.
But everybody says it. You saying that you didn't buy doesn't stop the views of all election observers. Even our correspondents on ground, everybody says it that the PDP was buying votes.
Were they caught on camera? Your observer, did they pick anyone on camera buying vote? like you say, give a dog a bad name, so just that you can hang the dog. For me, I am not going to talk about Adams Oshomole and Philip Shaibu, because we know what they represent and what they hold. I am talking about Olu Akpata because we would have had a better scenario if the Labour Party has produced their candidate in a fair and justly manner that represent equity and fairness that the Edo people represent.
I would argue against that, because if you say that he was rejected because he's not from Edo Central, and Labour Party presented an Edo Central candidate, then the PDP may not have even had, the votes that they got, because from your argument, Edo people may have voted more for the Labour Party and maybe given them 100,000 votes that the PDP may not have gotten, its current vote. So I don't even think that argument works. The Labour Party at this point, with 22,000 votes, cannot be blamed for, help or making the PDP lose the election. Their votes numbers are too small to even be considered, a disruption in the process.
The reason why I'm talking about Akpata is because of his press statement. His press statement is that of a pretentious person who has no business in the election in the first place.
All right, Mr. Azebimi, we need to wrap up here.
That we are all in the transaction. We are all in the transaction in the election. Was it not in that also? Did he not carry out that transaction too in his primaries?
All right. Mr. Azebimi, thank you very much for
any of the parties
joining us this morning.
Election. He should just keep aside. If you want to condemn the election, let it condemn the election in his own terms as a candidate, and not drag PDP and said, "Well, we're crying foul." That's why I'm against him, and that's why I'm speaking against him.
All right. I think we get your point already.
It's just criticize the election and the person. That's okay.
All right.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We'll see how things turn out, with the PDP's plans to, either go to court or not, but we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you for your time with us.
We'll join you again.
Thank you for having me again.
All right. Now, of course, you're moving away from election and its issues. Let's move to Kogi State, but before that, we'll go on a very short break. When we come back, we'll get into more conversations this morning.
The Kogi State House of Assembly has called for the immediate removal of the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Ola Olukoyede, citing unprofessional handling of the case against former Governor Yahaya Bello. During the recent plenary, legislators condemned an alleged assassination attempt on both Bello and current Governor Ahmed Ududo, claiming EFCC operatives attacked the Kogi government lodge.
The lawmakers accused the EFCC of orchestrating humiliation and persecution rather than genuine anti-corruption efforts. They demanded the president take action against Olukoyede, asserting his incompetence undermines the integrity of the agency. The assembly also, of course, recognized recent incidents as threats on the lives of state leaders. Joining us as the managing partner at Paradigm and Solicitors and Advocates, Oloyede Oyediran. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. It's my pleasure being here again.
All right, so the drama apparently continues with the EFCC and the Kogi State governor.
The White Lion.
The White Lion. Yeah. White Lion, as he's popularly called. I mean, what's your first reaction, to this news by the Kogi State House of Assembly?
Well, it's nothing more than a protest. A protest by the House of Assembly of Kogi State against the action of the EFCC. And I said it's nothing more than a protest because it's actually not within the legislative competence of the Kogi State House of Assembly to legislate or pass a resolution, do something for the removal of the chairman of EFCC. But of course, we understand why the House of Assembly took that decision. It's because, one, the former governor of Kogi State has been declared wanted by the EFCC for a while. And last week we saw the governor visited the EFCC himself. Nothing happened to him, though in company of his successor.
Yeah.
Now, nothing happened to him. In fact, what we had immediately after that visit was that, yes, though he visited us, he is still wanted. No, everybody was puzzled as how? Somebody who came to your office, you had all the opportunities to have arrested him, to have detained him, because he no longer enjoys immunity. And the immunity of the current governor with whom he visited the commission does not extend to him. So you could have done anything you wanted to do with him at that point, but you refused to do for reasons you know. Now, a few hours later, the commission bombarded the Kogi State Lodge in Abuja, and in an attempt to effect the arrest of somebody who had visited their office earlier. I think that is shameful, to say the least. I'm sure the leadership of EFCC will be displeased with that action, or will be regretting that action now, because it's actually uncalled for. So for me, it is a show of misplaced loyalty against another show of misplaced loyalty. And what do I mean? The EFCC, those who carried out that operation, actually probably want to impress Mr. President or the chairman of the commission or whoever is in charge.
Which of the actions are you talking about this time? Is it the alleged night raid?
Yes, the alleged night raid.
Okay.
Was a show of a misplaced loyalty. We want to show loyalty to our guys, to our bosses, to our leaders, whoever is leading, whether the chairman of EFCC, the president of Nigeria who appointed the chairman, or whoever. We want to show that we can do something to please these our bosses. Just like the Kogi State House of Assembly as well, making decisions saying that we reject this, we call on this, we do this, obviously to impress, to show loyalty to their former governor.
Okay.
Yes.
I want us to look at, a report on the Vanguard that's talked about how this has played out, and, part of the analysis would be that him surrendering himself to the EFCC might in a way have impacted his case in court. He's meant to appear in court tomorrow. They've given him, they said this is his last chance to defend himself. Do you think that this might have been a tactic, him showing up at the EFCC premises? Do you think it might have been a tactic that would have affected his case in any way, maybe positively or negatively?
Okay, that would have been easier to say if the commission had disclosed what happened when he visited the commission. But that news is still kept to be among the parties involved. In law, if a party who is allegedly wanted shows up at a law enforcement agency to say, you are looking for me, I am here, is actually a strong ground for that kind of a person to get bail on lower, very reasonable conditions, terms, to say, because we're looking for him, he came to surrender himself, then this kind of a person would not run away. What's the essence of bail? What's the essence of putting conditions? So as to ensure that if we lead this person to go, he will reappear, he will come back. Then, so for a person who willfully said, okay, you are looking for me, I'm here.
Even after being in hiding for almost 5 months?
It still doesn't matter. He has come out to say that I am here.
All right.
And when he did that, you did nothing.
Okay. Yeah. Let's hold our thought. We'll come back to talk about what the implications of the case look like, especially because the EFCC chair, there was a video of him saying that if this matter is not seen to the very end, he would resign. And people are calling for his sacking. So we'll go on a very quick break, and when we come back, the conversation continues.
Welcome back. And of course, still having a conversation this morning with Oloyede Oyediran concerning, of course, the latest developments from the Kogi State House of Assembly, where they have asked for the sacking of the EFCC chairman after what occurred at the Kogi State governor's residence a few weeks ago. One of the things, that I think is, important to ask, of course, is how this affects the EFCC chairman. Just like Olive had mentioned, he has already mentioned that if he does not see the end of the prosecution of Yahya Bello for this 80 billion naira fraud, he would resign. Do you expect his resignation soon? And has the EFCC also just completely embarrassed itself with the way that this has played out?
Okay, that was a very unfortunate statement. What it shows is that the chairman of EFCC has a special interest in the prosecution of the former Kogi State governor. And, in law, when a person has shown that kind of interest, it means he has not been able to divest himself from the personal interest to the official job that he has taken, that he is doing. But you see, it could just be said to be that he was only expressing how he felt at that time. Probably looking at the magnitude, the load of evidence against this person. But unfortunately, as a lawyer, your role is to present this case. No matter how weighty the evidence, it is in the minds of the court. Present it, let an arbiter, let a party who has no interest take the decision as to whether or not this crime has actually been committed and the person accused of the crime is culpable and is guilty. You see, what I felt when I read the news of what the House of Assembly in Kogi State did yesterday was that, well, there could have been a smarter way of doing all these things. And the smarter way is this. A few years back, we saw the Kano State House of Assembly passed an anti-graft law. In fact, Lagos did its own in 2021 when the House of Assembly of the state decided to say that we want to have a commission, an anti-graft commission like EFCC is to the federal government, to Lagos too. And so a law was made, a bill was made, it was passed into law and assented to by the governor of the state in 2021. That law has the implication of removing the hand of the EFCC from all the corruption or corruption-related cases on the Lagos State Treasury. What the law simply says is that, if our state public officer is accused of having stolen our money, it is the money of Lagos. So it is the Commission of Lagos that will deal with that kind of a crime. It is the Commission of Lagos that would investigate, prosecute, and went ahead to even say that even cases that had been commenced, investigation that had started before the coming into being of that law, will be taken over
by Lagos State,
by this commission established by the state. And even the governor went ahead to appoint a retired Federal High Court judge to be the chairman of that commission. So now, if the Kogi State are so desired, we would have said, oh, we want to pass a law in Kogi State that will say, okay, if our former governor has been accused of stealing money, it is the money of Kogi State. So the Kogi State has a machinery in motion to deal with that kind of a situation.
Yeah, but is that, I mean, even with the one in Lagos State, is that, allowed?
Good. I was going to say that would have its own issue. The issue would be when an agency, when there has been a law by the federal government on the principle of covering the field, and a state law tends to conflict with that one, which one prevails? Now the point is, even at that, it is the court that will decide which one prevails.
Right.
So leave it Do yours. If you want to be loyal to your former, to your boss, to your whatever, do yours. Be tactical, be reasonable. Let it not just be a Jankara thing.
All right. As quickly as possible, the next court appearance date is tomorrow, the 25th. Yahaya Bello has evaded court's appearance about 6 times since April. Do you think he will appear tomorrow? And if he doesn't appear, what should be the next course of action?
Well, I am expecting that, having gone to EFCC himself the other time, he would want to appear tomorrow.
And if he doesn't?
Yes, if he doesn't, the EFCC has no other thing to do than the declaration of Yahaya Bello wanted, as he has been done.
And so he has been wanted.
Yes, he still continues to be on wanted list. So if they are able to now take him, arrest him, because he no longer enjoys immunity.
What type of situation have we found ourselves in the country where one individual, just seems more powerful than a federal government institution? That a federal government institution can declare a person wanted, and he just doesn't show up. Neither do they, have the abilities or the resources to find him and have him arrested.
They are still making that effort. It is not yet over until it is finally over.
Yeah, but the way it seems, he's going to outlive, he's going to remain wanted until Usman Ododo's tenure as governor is over.
No, that's how it appears to you. The EFCC seems to still be making that effort. We have not seen the end. You understand? So, if you have not seen the end, we cannot conclude that it will stay to the end of the Ododo administration. No. It may be just seen tomorrow and not be nabbed and taken to the court.
And speaking about the end of Ododo's administration, I think another conversation that will eventually come up is whether he will face the law for ensuring that Yahaya Bello, evaded arrest. He obstructed the EFCC from doing their work by arresting Yahaya Bello. But I guess that's another conversation for another day.
Maybe for another day.
Oloyede Oyediro, Managing Partner at Paradigm Solicitors and Advocates. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
All right. Quite a conversation we've had this morning from Edo State to Kogi State. We'll take you through a recap and then let you know what's coming up next. PDP rejects Edo election, vows to reclaim mandate. It's still an ongoing conversation. They are asking that INEC reviews the results. Kogi Assembly seeks EFCC chair's removal over threat to Bello. Ighodalo Akpata accused APC of vote buying and intimidation. He did release that report, Akpata, that is this morning, and we talked about it as we began the show. But let's share with you what's coming up next.
The Nigeria Prize for Literature Competition 2024. Share your updates on that one. The newspaper front pages also. What are the major stories making headlines across Nigeria this morning? And also let you know what Nigerians are saying. And welcome once again. Now let's get into the newspapers this morning and share with you the major stories this Tuesday morning. Joining us is the publisher of the niche newspaper, Ikechukwu Amechi. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Mr. Amechi. I love that you're wearing olive. That's literally the best color after red. But happy Edo election morning. Happy what? Happy
going to court.
Shehu Sani has coined the word. He calls it go-to-coism, go to court.
Let's start with this Nigerian newspapers this morning. Big story there says, fuel crisis. National Assembly set to probe rot in petroleum sector. FEC approves construction of 40 houses for judges in Abuja. Wike discloses termination of contract for development of Maitama 2. Okay. Edo, songs of joy and lamentation in Asue Ighodalo camps. APC won fair and square, says Oshiomhole. And of course, the PDP candidate says it was not transparent. Final story this morning, Forex volatility, significant threats to our operation, says the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Those are the big stories on this Nigeria. Let's go to the Punch newspaper.
All right. The Punch newspaper this morning, the big story there says, Edo poll, PDP demands fresh collation as Labour Party Akpata alleges fraud. We started off the show this morning taking his press release. INEC must abide by Section 65 of Electoral Act 2022, says Damagum. Poll was a transaction, not election, says Labour Party. Still a statement made by Olumide Akpata. Litigation claims against 6 banks near 2 trillion naira. Police probe alleged killing of 3 by Lagos teenage driver. That was a really sad one. I don't know if you saw the pictures of a young teenage boy driving a car that unfortunately killed some of his friends. I saw the photos yesterday. It was very gory. Passengers panic as plane windshield breaks in Abuja. Profubara local government caretaker chairman dump PDP for APP. You don't mean it. Why federal government must end petrol subsidy now, says Dangote. EFCC plans fuel tankers park for Dangote refinery to tackle congestion. National Assembly resumes today, demands 2025 budget. That's all. Let's move over to Daily Independence.
All right, final newspaper this morning, I believe. Edo gubernatorial poll results were manipulated, says Yaga Africa. PDP heads to court, says nation's democracy is under threat. We lost the power of money bags buying votes, says Olumide Akpata. We will use Edo templates in Ondo and Anambra, Ganduje says. That should be scary. For, those 2 states. Peter Obi describes outcome of Edo poll as state capture. Ondo, not Edo, will protect our vote, says PDP candidate. Okay? Kogi Assembly seeks immediate sack of EFCC chair Olukoyede. And also Federal FECO case committee to reassess Aludam and others across Nigeria. Committees. Nigeria demands permanent Security Council seats for Africa, and also acting CJ warns heads of court on conflicting rulings, ex parte orders. I think we should just stop here and get into it while you're chipping on other newspapers. Let's start with Edo State, the numerous conversations around it. Where would you like to pick up from?
Well, it is, to say again, déjà vu. I'm not too sure there is any Nigerian that is surprised at what happened in Edo State on Saturday. The conversation, we've all come back. I've been on radio and television since Saturday, and it is the same conversation again. What has changed from 2023? Nothing, practically nothing. INEC has done what it knows how best to do, to generate controversy rather than conducting free, fair, credible election that people can say, okay, congratulations to whoever is declared the winner. But how do you congratulate the person declared winner when the process is, look, almost all, in fact, all the civil society groups that monitored this election, whether it is the Situation Room, whether it is the Yaga Africa, all of them have come out to say that this election was fundamentally flawed. Yaga Africa particularly said that the processes were flawed. And look, I watched Samson Itodo, I think the executive director of Yaga Africa, on television yesterday night, and he was graphic in his description of what happened in Edo State. In fact, he said that from what they observed, because they had well over 200 people on ground, and they had a method to analyzing what transpired. They said 10% of the votes was taken from a particular party and given to the party that won. He's on record on television last night. So, look, Arthur, we can't say this enough. INEC has been given so much money. Every year or every election cycle, so much money is budgeted. INEC said it is investing in technology, BVAS, IREV, everything. The idea is to see people or to have people see that result real time, so that if you go to the distance, you are accredited, election is finished, as at 6 p.m. on Saturday, over 90% of the result had been uploaded on the IRF. So people had access to what the result was in Edo State. How come that the so-called result that was announced by INEC on Sunday did not tally with what is uploaded on the IRF, which is still there? How come that when you go for election, BVAS is used in accreditation? At the end of the day, 100 people, for instance, get accredited to vote. Then when election result comes out, a political party will score 500, where only 100 people
we are accredited
to vote. So it doesn't make sense. Look, elections in this country, I don't know. I'm not a politician, and I don't think I will ever go there and present myself and say I'm contesting an election under this mess. This is not a democracy. I continue saying that this is not a democracy. Look, democracy as defined by the former President of America, Abraham Lincoln, in his Gettysburg speech, government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Here we have a so-called democracy that the people content is missing. The people content is missing. And that's the only thing democracy guarantees you. Democracy is not a guarantee that the best will win. No. But the people must decide who governs them. That is the idea. So if at the end of the day the people decide that a fool is who they want, so be it. Perhaps 4 years down the road, when they realize that they have elected a fool, they may change.
No, but there's also, the possibilities of impeaching, this fool in court, like you've mentioned. You don't even need to wait 4 years, and that's one of the beauties of democracy as well.
Yes, also, ideally, that should be. But of course, that in Nigeria, who are you going to impeach? Your governor?
No, I'm just expressing,
Yeah, I know.
Democracy, yeah.
I know. Those are the processes.
Yeah.
And it is legitimate. And that's why, I think it was on this station that I did say the other time, that those who are now saying that the protesters are calling for a regime change, I said there's nothing unconstitutional about that. The Constitution provides ways of changing a government. It is not only during election, like you have rightly pointed out now. Yeah. If somebody is not doing what he or she was elected to do, the people reserve the right through their representatives in the legislature to impeach. Yeah. It is a constitutional duty. So to say that people are calling for regime change in a democracy that you have to wait until the next election cycle, that is not correct. So you see, we've gone to, if we go back to Edo, and people have been told to go to court. If I were the so-called losers, I will not go.
So that means, I'm taking it that if you do not have faith that the court will be able to restore whatever injustice or undo whatever injustice has been done, you obviously still do not have faith in the incoming Ondo elections?
Where should the faith come from? Look, let me, Barrister Okutepa, he's a senior advocate of Nigeria, and he has been there in the courts over the years defending those who they say lost elections in Nigeria. I'm going to read for you the conclusion of an article that he published yesterday. He said, listen, for me, He said, it is therefore my proposal to all losers, losers in quote, of elections in Nigeria not to waste time and resources to file election petitions because it is easier for an elephant to go through the eyes of the needle than for anyone who was robbed of victories in our elections to get immediate remedies and electoral justice. Technicalities are now being used to aid and abet the fraudulent democratic processes in Nigeria. This is the reality of the matter. This is the senior advocate of Nigeria.
Wow.
So, go to court now. Which court? The courts that have elevated technicalities to an act that you're not even able to present the so-called case. In any case, it is INEC, the same INEC, that has done its worst again, that you are going to depend on to get materials to prosecute your case to prove that the election they conducted was not done properly.
Yeah.
All right.
How can that be?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just quickly mention that we're now ready to take phone calls. So if you'd like to call in and react to any of the stories or contribute to any of the stories, the number to call is on your TV screen. We want to hear your thoughts. If you're in Edo State, what's the mood like? Is it a mood of jubilation or is it one of despair? Let us know what your thoughts are regarding that. I want us to move away from that conversation to something I saw on the Punch newspaper. Pro-Fubara local government caretaker chairman dump PDP for APP. Is it safe to say the plot has thickened in Rivers State?
I think so. I've not actually read that story, so I can't, on my own, confirm what the move is all about. But if it is true that they have left PDP for APP, then, of course, you know there have always been this rumor there that Fubara...
Yeah, would also dump. Yeah, I think that's also what the Punch reports.
Here we dump PDP because he feels he has not gotten the kind of support he needs to get. PDP is... I remember, was it about a month ago, here, and when you guys asked me whether PDP will now discipline...
Nyesom Wike. And you said that it is Nyesom Wike that will discipline.
And I said it is rather Nyesom Wike that will discipline PDP. Also, you remember?
Yeah.
And you were smiling. The truth of the matter is that it is Wike that is disciplining PDP.
Was he in Edo State for the election campaign? I don't remember.
No, he does not need to be there.
Yeah.
He wasn't, but his cousin is the resident electoral commissioner for crying out loud. His cousin is the resident electoral commissioner. Look, even for the purposes of fair play and building confidence, even in court, when a judge who has any kind of relationship with the people who are appearing before him, he excuses himself.
Just hold on. Let's speak. Mr. Chiozo, good morning. Welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, my brother.
Go ahead quickly.
Yeah, it's unfortunate what is happening in this country now, and yet people are not aware of the things that APC government is causing. APC government is more like a cult, and they don't have any vision. They are a bunch of aberos, bunch of 419 members.
All right.
And they would never allow you to play your own game. They would never allow anything to be fair in Nigeria. Rather, what they do is to monopolize everywhere, make sure that they intimidate you. They do all sorts of nonsense to make sure that they are pressing people down until the last blood is dropped. The earlier Nigerians took away APC government, the better for us.
All right.
You guys should watch out.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Make sure they counter everywhere.
All right.
From A to Z, they have to make sure that they ridicule people and what have you. APC government is a killer. But the Nigerians realize that and fight for their lives now before it's late.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chozo.
That's not the thing to give you any breathing space.
All right. Thank you very much.
We'd
like to
remain in power.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Chozo. All right. Just like to remind our viewers, you need to also watch your language while making your contributions to the program. Nothing, he has necessarily said is illegal, but, please watch your language.
All right. I think we can wrap up without just quickly mentioning Kogi Assembly calling for the sack of or the resignation of EFCC Chair Olukoyede. Did you see that? the laughter.
Again, it is this, I don't know how to put it, but Nigeria is becoming a laughing stock. Most times I shiver when I think about what other countries think and feel about what is going on in Nigeria. We have an EFCC whose chairman, Olukorede, vowed on public TV that unless and until he arrests the former governor of Kogi State, that he would rather resign than to stay and not accomplish the task of bringing Yahaya Bello to justice. That was almost 4 or 5 months ago. Yahaya Bello has been there. Nobody has arrested him. Of course, now they claim they don't know where he is. And all of a sudden, this man, on his own, came to EFCC office and said he wanted to answer the summons.
Yeah.
And they told him to go. This is a man who is on wanted list. He's a wanted man. EFCC said they have even contacted Interpol.
Well,
Yahaya Bello is a wanted man.
You know what?
And the man came, and you allowed him to go, only to stage a drama later in the evening of that day to go.
You know what? Let's hold our reaction. He's scheduled to appear in court tomorrow, the 25th. All fingers crossed, we'll see that he appears. And if he doesn't appear, then we'll have you again. Come and do another reaction to what the next steps are. If this is going to be something that will be seen to the end, or if it will be another joke. It's always a pleasure to have you join us on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Olive, in fact, it is disheartening talking about Nigeria. And you know what? It is only going to get worse. I don't know the percentage that voted, they say about 22%.
22%.
That voted in Edo election. Less than what voted, the average that voted in 2023. And it is only going to get worse because people are not going out there to vote. You'll even be surprised if you get people who, a politician, an A-list politician called me on Sunday. He wants to contest the governorship in one of the states. I won't mention the state so that I don't give him away. He said, my brother, I don't think it is any use going to contest election in Nigeria again.
Well,
that is where we are.
And that is where we'll end things for now. It can be quite disheartening to look at some of the stories that we do every morning, but we will keep talking about them as this is the only country that we have, and we'll continue to hold the people that need to be held to account. We'll go on a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll be looking at more stories this morning. Stay with us.
Yep.
The Nigeria Prize for Literature, one of the world's most prestigious literary awards, marks its 20th year. Sponsored by Nigeria LNG Limited, the prize recognizes outstanding Nigerian writers with a $100,000 award. The 2024 edition focuses on children's literature, with 3 finalists selected from 163 entries. A Father's Pride by Ndidi Chiazo Enemo, The Road Does Not End by Olubumi Familoni, and Wishmaker by Uchechukwu Peter Umezurike. The prize aims to spotlight Nigerian literary talent and promote cultural excellence. We're joined this morning by the 3 shortlisted authors. We have Ndidi Chiazo Enemo. She's a writer of A Father's Pride, and she's right here in the studio with us. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Good morning.
It's good to have you. And we also have joining us virtually Wishmaker by Uchechukwu, the author of Wishmaker by Uchechukwu Peter Umezurike. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you, you both, for having me here.
All right. We're hoping to be joined by Olubunmi Familoni shortly. But first of all, I think congratulations are in order for all 3 of you. It's absolutely brilliant to think that out of 163 entries, you were shortlisted as top 3. And I'll start with you. Talk to us about your feeling when you first found out that you were top 3 shortlisted. What were you doing? Where were you?
I was dancing, I was jumping, I was very excited, yeah.
Where were you when you got that call? What were you doing?
I was in my room, and I now saw NLNG tagged you in a reel. So immediately, I knew that I've been shortlisted because I knew the announcement was going to be made on that day. So I screamed, and my children came running to the room, and we are just jumping, and we are singing, and we are dancing, and we are happy.
Oh, right. Fantastic. I want us to talk about, literature, and, let's quickly bring in Peter Umezurike. Tell us about, literature in Nigeria today, and, do you think it's still where it should be? Or, is the Nigerian literary spirit dying?
Yeah, thank you again. That's a fantastic question. I don't think the Nigerian spirit is dying. And if there's anything we can credit to the Nigerian spirit, it's resilience. Nigerians have been through difficult times, and they've always been able to manage to pull through. And I think that is reflected in Nigerian literature. I think also there are so many wonderful things happening with Nigerian literature, particularly the young and upcoming writers who are pushing the envelope, creating new ways of telling our stories, whether it's in fiction, poetry, drama, or even in children's literature. So I think we are witnessing an amazing resurgence of Nigerian literature at home and abroad.
And I completely, I'm excited by that revelation. I'll come back to the studio here and talk to you about, your decision to register for this competition. You've written a book here, A Father's Pride. Thank you very much for the copy you've gifted us. A Father's Pride by Ndidi Chiazo Enemo. What inspired this body of work? I know that this year is particularly focused on children's literature. Was this done particularly with this competition in mind? What inspired this body of work, and why did you choose to apply for this competition?
Okay. To answer your question, I would say yes and no. Because initially, I started this book as a picture book. I started it 4 years ago. And the title was different from what we have now. I had it as Sad Sadia. I wanted to create a picture in a story around a sad child. And I wanted to explore the things that made children sad. Things about the family they are growing up with, their environment and everything. But along the line, I discovered that I was expanding the scope beyond picture book. I've translated into, chapter books. So, and as the prize was drawing close, I decided to now do it very, very well.
So you use one stone to kill 2 birds.
Yes, yes.
I think I'll also bring Peter in on the conversation, Uchechukwu on the conversation as well. Your work, Wishmaker, what is it about? And, why did you also decide to apply, to enroll for this competition?
Thank you very much. Wishmaker revolves around a 9-year-old boy named Ebele, who lives with his poor mother. So she's a single parent, and she's poor, and she's struggling to afford the best she can give her son. So the Wishmaker explores kindness, friendship, courage, the overcoming one's fears, and believing in one's ability to succeed, to dream big, and to go after your goal. So of course, I initially didn't set out to submit my work for the Nigerian Prize for Literature, because this work was published 3 years ago. And so when I published it, I just wanted to continue the conversation around children's literature to get to contribute to writing for and about children. And this is not my first book. I have written a couple of, more than a couple actually, of children's novels, short stories. Yeah, thank you.
And I think my follow-up to that question to you as well is, why is it important, the work that the Nigeria Prize for Literature is doing? Why is it important? What role do you think it's looking to fill in the society?
I think the Nigeria Prize for Literature is doing an amazing and important work. And I wish there were so many other corporations that can take up this prize. Not only LNG doing this, but having other corporations sponsor prize opportunities for diverse sectors of Nigerian writers. And if the last 20 years, the LNG has single-handedly brought attention to Nigerian writing. And I know there are other organizations that started, but they've all faded away, and that's sad. And I would use this opportunity to call on other private and public organizations to really contribute to revitalizing our literature in Nigeria, not only allowing the Nigerian Prize for Literature to exist as the sole and primary prize-giving body. So if we can get people to endow literary prizes in Nigeria, whether for children or for adults or even for indigenous languages, that would be wonderful. And I would welcome such an opportunity to collaborate with those organizations. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. I mean, it sounds very exciting. And of course, $100,000, prize, also, very, very fascinating. I want to talk about the work now. I mean, go back to our studio guests, and ask about what it takes, to put together, a book like this. What do you need to tap into? Is it the realities of the average Nigerian, of different ages?
Yeah. For a father's pride, I had to look at topical issues. One topical issue is the issue of environment, the issue of our culture, and the issue of domestic violence, especially against children. These are big issues. And then there's also the minor theme of bullying in schools. You find a lot of children are being bullied, and it makes them to be psychologically damaged. So these are all the things that a father's pride explores. Because as a writer, you have to, write things that are relevant to the society you live in, so that when people read, they will be able to imbibe some value. They'll be able to relearn and unlearn a lot of things. So that's a very important skill for me. When I'm writing, I have to look at the environment, look at the topical issues in society. And for a father's pride, I think I was able to capture a lot of things.
All right. And I look forward to reading this work. And congratulations again to the three of you for being shortlisted. You're already winners. Just to double check, is one person that will cut away $100,000? Yes. Is winner takes it all?
Ooh. Yes.
Why did I not start writing much earlier? At least now I know. Hopefully there will be another one next year. And for budding writers, there are people who are looking to become authors like you, like Peter Uchechukwu. What advice would you give to them, for those who are thinking of starting and those who have already started?
First of all, you have to be an avid reader. You cannot write without reading. You cannot be a good writer if you don't read widely. So for me, I've always been an avid reader. While growing up, I was fortunate to grow up in a home filled with books, so I read widely. Even when I was in secondary school, I was always going to the library, borrowing books, reading. And I think it formed, the basic skill I've acquired as a writer. So for you to be a writer, you must read other people's work, and it will help you to improve.
Well, I think my final question will go to Peter Umezurike. While growing up, we had very popular books that we read in, primary and, secondary school. Do we still have that same reading culture today? Have we had new books take over that space in our primary and secondary schools across Nigeria? And, what work, or how appreciative are you of the work that the Nigeria LNG is doing in order to maintain that reading culture in primary and secondary schools across Nigeria?
Yeah,
first off, I think we shouldn't just say the LNG should be doing all that responsibility. I think it's a responsibility, and everyone should be a stakeholder in rejuvenating the reading culture in Nigeria. And I think Nigerians, like every other nationals, would love to read if books are affordable. And I think we have to think of how to make books affordable and available. And that's not only the responsibility of the Nigerian Prize for Literature. Of course, the public sector, the private sector, and everyone should be involved in how to revive that reading culture. But I know part of the challenge would be people having disposable income, because if you are struggling to survive, if you are struggling to put food on the table, you wouldn't be able to afford a reading because you would see it as the luxury. And so how do we address this kind of social-cultural or economic challenges that make the reading culture stifle a little? But I think Nigerians are, like any other people, curious. They want to explore the imaginative arts, and then that's what literature offers. And so we can individually and collectively add to that conversation.
All right. And I think you raise a very valid point there in terms of it being not just the responsibility of Nigeria LNG. The government also, we should be talking about having state libraries, national libraries, investing in ensuring that we're supporting ideas like this. Entertainment is great, but reading is very important. We can't ignore the role that reading does, and I'm hoping that we can see more support. So first of all, or finally, congratulations to Nigeria LNG and to the Nigeria Prize for Literature.
When is the decision made?
Yes.
October 11th, I think.
Oh, October 11th. And in 20 seconds each, if you win this $100,000, what will you do with it? I know this is a setup question. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? I did the calculation. Last I checked, it was 1,660 naira per dollar. And it was 166 million naira. What will you do with this money?
You don't have to say you're going to buy books. You know, you can say something else.
Or if you are still thinking about it, have you thought about yours?
Yes. If you go to my social media pages, you see that I've always been involved in book donation.
Oh,
so I want to increase that capacity. If I win this prize, I would like as many Nigerian children as possible to read this book, as well as other books that have won in the children's literature genre.
All right.
Yes.
Just thinking about... Mr. Mazirika, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah, I think I share the same sentiment. I'll donate books which I've done. In the previous years, I've partnered with Electoral International to donate books to secondary schools in Nigeria. And I also want to set up a literary prize, because that has been a lifelong way for me to give back to my community and also explore opportunities to get other writers and authors involved.
All right. These are very, very valid points. When you are ready to now do the other sharing, please remember to call us. We'll come and help you talk about the sharing. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. Congratulations. Keep up the great work. It's amazing work you're doing. Congratulations to Nigeria Prize for Literature, NLNG, on its 20th year. Congratulations to Ndidi Chiazo Enemo, the author of A Father's Pride. Congratulations to Uchechukwu Peter Umezurike, the author of Wishmaker. And unable to join us, unfortunately, due to network challenges, is Olubumi Familoni, who's the author of The Road Does Not End. And indeed, the conversation does not end here on News Central, as we have what Nigerians are saying next.
Thank you.
Thank you. Edo State still takes the center stage in conversations, and that is where I'll remain today. This is what Nigerians are saying, where your opinion counts. The just concluded gubernatorial elections in Edo State have brought many conversations to the fore, such as the role of INEC in being able to deliver the dividends of democracy, the probability that Governor Obaseki may have ruined Asue Ighodalo's campaign, the allegations of vote buying and weaponized poverty being key players in the elections. I mean, there are so many angles. There have been reports of voters selling their votes for as low as 10,000 naira. And as expected, there has been a visible increase in the throwing around of the phrase, go to court, and the fears that even the court may not be able to bring the desired relief. The governor-elect has spoken, and so also have the other two leading gubernatorial candidates of the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party. Now, let's take the tweet of the governor-elect. He says, Thank you, Edo. A new Edo State has risen, and we shall make you proud. Now, he's not the only one who's tweeted. Asue Ighodalo says, thank you, Edo. Thank you for the love and massive support you have shown me throughout this journey. Thank you for braving the rains, threats of violence, harassment, and intimidation to vote us massively last Saturday, 21st September 2024. Our journey doesn't end here. It continues in our commitment and collective resolve to recover our mandate and create a pathway to prosperity for all in Edo State. And finally, we have Olumide Akpata, who says, hashtag Edo will be okay. There was a tweet by Olumide Akpata, and in the tweet, he, of course, expressed how he felt. He said in his tweet, while preparing for this election, we harbored grave concerns about the integrity of the process. We anticipated that powerful forces would attempt to skew the outcome in their favor, regardless of the will of the people. Regrettably, these fears have materialized. Yet, we must also confront an uncomfortable truth. The outcome was enabled not just by those who sought to manipulate the process, but also by the actions and inactions of a significant portion of our electorate. And of course, you saw the press release he put out there saying hashtag Edo will be okay. And in that press release, or in that article, he of course accused the APC of the role that they've played in the elections and said the PDP is not allowed to cry foul because they've been a part of this. He talked about vote buying and talked about even how the Labour Party agents and faithfuls were found culpable. And in all of this, he says he doesn't blame the citizens who sold their votes, but they should understand the impact of what they've done, because he had appealed to people not to allow the hardship impact their decision. But I mean, you can find a number of the things that were said in that article online. They're not the only ones who are speaking. Nigerians have been speaking about this. So let's take some of the tweets of Nigerians. A lot of criticism leveled against several people. Demo Gabazi says, a political party that couldn't end food scarcity, fuel shortage, and that abhors monopoly is what Edo people voted for. At the end, it is either you are an instrument to defend our democracy or a casualty of it. Remember, a fool is no friend of God. And the next tweet says, hashtag Edo decides 2024, integrity and credibility are questionable as a result of reports from various observer and monitor organizations, NGOs, CSOs, over voting in 370 polling units. If you recall, Yaga Africa also gave their report stating that the elections did not pass the credibility test. This one says, as a governor, Obaseki was good. The only Nigerian governor paying 70,000 as minimum wage. Edo State is in the top 10 of various development indices among states in Nigeria. However, Obaseki was brutal to political leaders. He fought many battles and created many political enemies. And the next tweet says, by implication, APC will win 2027 general elections in Edo State. It's a plus for the party because the governor will use all within his power to deliver to APC presidential candidate in 2027. That's to say, Tinubu will win Edo State. Kunle Crown says, or Justin Chancellor says, the election charade that just ended in Edo is really laughable. The results collated at the polling units are different from what INEC announced. The fraud is from the point of transmission. Results must be transmitted electronically in real time, or there's no need for election. Kule Crown also says, you picked fight with Oba of Benin, royal father of the land, Adam Soshomole, your godfather, Philip Shaibu, your deputy, PDP, your party, Wike, your benefactor. You are a governor, not a god. The historic betrayal in the Obase case is thicker than blood. Naimeka says, vote buying is not how APC won Edo State. You guys are unbelievable. Your problem is INEC. You cannot buy vote to win elections. You will buy some, yes, but never enough to win. It is what it is. Anyways, keep blaming everyone but INEC and security. Ms. Pell also says, INEC should have just announced their governor without election. What a waste. Shehu Ghazali Sadiq says, any opposition going to court over the Edo State election will only waste time and money. The judiciary is already in the pockets of Pharaoh. Maurice Moye also tweets about this and says, waste of time. Which court? If you don't win on the field, then you are wasting your time. That's what Nigeria has turned to. The final tweet is Tosin Lubega, who says, I blame Jonathan for accepting defeat and handing over to APC. The day he handed over was when Nigeria stopped practicing democracy. Unfortunately, he didn't put up any fight. In their usual way, APC defeated him with lies and propaganda. These are the various reactions that Nigerians have had. And what we've seen, that there's been one thing that can be agreed upon. Largely, the process has been criticized by Nigerians. So again, when will we get to the point where we can say that, yes, there will be people who will be displeased by the outcome, maybe because their preferred candidates did not win, but that Nigerians will be able to say that not just was justice done, but but justice was seen to be manifestly done, maybe not by all, but by the majority. This is what Nigerians are saying this morning, and this is where we wrap up the show. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back again same time tomorrow to have more conversations. I am Olive Emodi.
And I am Asue Ighodalo. See you tomorrow.